Hey there, Bible lovers, Ivan here, and listen, we all know the Bible. It's got wisdom, it's got drama, it's got more miracles than a Vegas magic show. But did you know it's also got jokes? Yep. The good book is actually pretty hilarious if you know where to look. So get ready to laugh because today, we're diving into the top 10 funniest Bible stories. We're talking stories that'll make you say, wait, that's in the Bible? Buckle up, because this is gonna be good. Okay, picture this. Balaam, a guy who talks to God, is cruising on his donkey, right? Suddenly the donkey slams on the brakes. Balaam's like, what gives, buddy? But the donkey's frozen solid, staring at something in the road. Turns out it's an angel, invisible to Balaam but clear as day to the donkey. Now Balaam's got places to be, so he starts whacking the poor donkey. Move it or lose it, he probably yelled. But the donkey's all, dude, there's a giant angel with a flaming sword right there. You want me to get kebabbed? And then get this, the donkey actually turns around and starts talking. Can you imagine? You're arguing with your pet and suddenly, BAM! They're giving you sass right back. Balaam must have dropped his coffee in shock. The Bible doesn't say if the donkey ever got an apology, but hey, at least he got the last word. And that's how the donkey taught Balaam a lesson. Don't underestimate the quiet ones. They might just surprise you. Okay, next up we've got Sarah, who's pushing 90 and basically a grandma's grandma. God appears to her husband Abraham and says, guess what? You're gonna have a baby. Abraham's over the moon, but Sarah, she's in the tent like, wait, what now? I mean, can you blame her? She's probably got her rocking chair picked out, her knitting needles ready to go, and suddenly, bam, baby on board. So naturally, Sarah bursts out laughing. Who wouldn't? But here's the thing about God, he's got a sense of humor, but he also always delivers. 9 months later, little baby Isaac pops into the world, proving that with God, nothing is impossible, even a grandma becoming a new mom. I bet Sarah had the last laugh on that one, and that's the story of how laughter led to a miracle. Never underestimate the power of a good chuckle, folks. Alright, let's talk about Elijah, a prophet who knew how to throw some serious shade. So there's this big showdown happening between God and Baal, who's basically the god of, well, not much, as it turns out. Baal's prophets are doing everything they can to get his attention, chanting, dancing, even cutting themselves. Talk about a desperate cry for attention. Meanwhile, Elijah's just chilling, watching these guys make fools of themselves. Finally, after hours of nothing, Elijah's like, all right, that's enough. Maybe Baal's taking a nap? Or maybe he's on a beach somewhere, catching some rays. Someone send him a postcard. I mean, the sass is strong with this one. Of course, Baal never shows up. He's probably still embarrassed to this day. And Elijah, he proves that sometimes all you need is a little bit of wit and a whole lot of faith to win the day. Mic drop. Chapter 4, The Fish That Swallowed Jonah. Worst vacation ever. Okay, we've all been there, right? You're trying to avoid something, pretend you didn't hear, maybe even duck behind a plant. But when God gives you a to-do list, you don't exactly get to hit the ignore button. Jonah learned that the hard way. God told him to go to Nineveh, and Jonah was like, nope, not doing it. He hopped on a boat going the opposite direction, figuring he could outrun God. Spoiler alert, you can't. So there's Jonah sailing along, when suddenly, wham! A giant fish swallows him whole. I'm talking bigger than a whale, bigger than a school bus. This thing was a monster. Jonah's stuck in there for 3 days, which, let's be honest, sounds like a nightmare. Can you imagine the smell? The fish burps? Talk about a captive audience. Finally, after 3 days of what I'm sure was the worst vacation ever, the fish spits Jonah out on the beach. I bet Jonah never skipped out on one of God's errands again. And that, my friends, is why you always answer God's calls. Unless you want to spend your vacation in the belly of a beast. Chapter 5. Eutychus falls asleep in church, worst wake-up call ever. Alright, let's be honest, we've all been there. It's Sunday morning, you're in church, and the pastor's sermon is, well, let's just say it's testing your eyelids. But Eutychus, this guy takes the cake. Paul the apostle is preaching up a storm, and Eutychus is fighting a losing battle with sleep. He's nodding off, he's catching flies with his mouth, the whole deal. Suddenly it happens. Eutychus goes full-on timber. He falls asleep so hard that he tumbles out of a third-story window. Talk about a rude awakening. Now, I don't know about you, but if I saw that, I'd be calling 911. But Paul? He just calmly walks over, picks Eutychus up and says, don't worry guys, he's fine. And you know what? He was. Paul brought him back to life, just like that. So the next time you're feeling a little sleepy in church, just remember Eutychus. It could always be worse. You could end up taking an unexpected nap on the pavement. Chapter 6. The Barefoot Prophet, Fashion Week. This ain't okay, imagine this. You're a prophet, right? You talk to God, you deliver messages, you're basically a spiritual VIP. You've got a reputation to uphold. Then, God comes to you and says, all right, I need you to do something for me. I need you to take off your shoes and your clothes and walk around for 3 years. Yeah, you'd probably think you misheard him too, but that's exactly what happened to Isaiah. God told him to ditch the wardrobe, embrace the elements, and walk around barefoot and basically naked for 3 years as a sign to Egypt and Cush. Talk about a fashion statement. I can just picture Isaiah walking down the street, sandals in hand, trying to avoid prickly bushes and side-eyeing from the neighbors. It couldn't have been comfortable, but hey, when God asks you to make a statement, you make a statement. Alright, let's talk about Zacchaeus, a guy who was, well, vertically challenged, we'll say. He was so short that he couldn't see over crowds to save his life. So what does he do when he hears Jesus is coming to town? He climbs a tree. I'm talking full-on kid in a candy store, gotta see this excitement. Now imagine you're Jesus walking down the street and you see a grown man chilling in a tree. You'd probably laugh, right? Well, Jesus did one better. He stopped, looked up at Zacchaeus and said, "Hey buddy, come on down. I'm coming over for dinner. Talk about getting the VIP treatment." Zacchaeus was so stoked he practically jumped out of the tree. And that's how a little bit of creativity and a whole lot of faith scored Zacchaeus the best dinner guest ever. Chapter 8. The Curse of the Bald Head. Kids, don't try this at home. Okay, this one's a little wild, even for the Bible. So, Elisha, another one of those prophet guys, is walking along, minding his own business, when a group of kids comes up to him and starts making fun of him. And what do they choose to make fun of? His lack of hair. Kids can be so mean. Now, Elisha's had a long day, he's probably got sandals full of sand and he's fresh out of patience. So he does what any reasonable prophet would do, he curses them. And not just a little curse, but a curse that brings 2 bears out of the woods, who then proceed to maul the kids. Yeah, it got real dark real fast. Moral of the story? Don't make fun of prophets, especially if they're having a bad hair day. And maybe just be nice to everyone, you know? It's a good look. Chapter 9. Samson and the Foxes. Revenge is a dish best served. Flaming? Alright, let's talk about Samson, the strongest man alive, who also had a bit of a temper. After a particularly nasty breakup with his girlfriend Delilah, we've all been there, right? Samson decides to get even. And when I say get even, I mean get even in the most epic, fiery way possible. He goes out and catches 300 foxes. Now I don't know about you, but catching 1 fox sounds like a challenge. 300? That's next level. Then he ties torches to their tails, lights them on fire, and sets them loose in the Philistines' fields. Talk about a field trip. Can you imagine the chaos? Foxes running everywhere, flames shooting out behind them, the Philistines running for their lives. It must have been a sight to see. Samson definitely got his revenge, and then some. Chapter 10. Peter tries to walk on water. Nailed it. Almost. Last but not least, we've got Peter, Jesus' best friend and sometimes a bit of a hothead. So, the disciples are out on a boat and a storm kicks up. Suddenly, they see Jesus walking towards them on the water. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd be freaking out. But Peter, being Peter, is like, hold my grape juice. He jumps out of the boat and starts walking towards Jesus. And you know what? It works. He's walking on water. He's basically a superhero. But then he looks down, sees the waves crashing around him, and panics. He takes his eyes off Jesus and starts sinking like a stone. Classic Peter. Luckily, Jesus is there to pull him up. It's a good reminder that even when we doubt, even when we feel like we're sinking, Jesus is always there to catch us. And that's what I call a miracle. And there you have it, the top 10 funniest stories in the Bible. I hope you got a few laughs and maybe even learned something along the way. Remember, the Bible isn't just a dusty old book, it's full of life, laughter, and lessons for all of us. So the next time you're feeling down, pick up the good book and find yourself a funny story. It might just be the pick-me-up you need. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more hilarious content and share it with your friends. Let's spread the laughter. Until next time, peace out.